Clock now. Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you all to the DeKalb County Central United School District Board of Education special meeting. Today is Monday, January 5th, 2026. At this time, I ask all that are able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Angie, could you do roll call, please?
Valerie Armstrong.
Present.
Tony Baker.
Present.
Tony O'Neill.
Present.
Katie Feaster.
Present.
Thank you, Angie. At this time, I will ask the board for a motion to adopt and amend the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E, we'll begin with the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Valerie. Appreciate that. There's just one item for this special board meeting this evening, and that's the interviewing of potential school board member candidates as a result of the resignation of one of our board members in December. By law, the board has 30 days to fill this position, and I believe that 30th day lands on January 13th. What made this a little more challenging, as I'm sure most of you sitting in the audience who are candidates for this position, is having it occur over Christmas and New Year's holiday. That just tightened the schedule and the window and the time frame to get everything in order to make tonight happen. So this is the initial round of the school board candidate interviews. By policy, every candidate that submitted an application is interviewed, and that happens tonight. And then for future reference, the final round of interviews will take place this coming Thursday, beginning at 6 o'clock, not 5 o'clock like today, 6 o'clock on Thursday the 13th right here in the boardroom. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our board president, Valerie Armstrong.
Thank you. I'd like to just welcome everyone here tonight, and we appreciate your willingness and wanting to be involved in the district and at this special role. We will begin tonight. You each were given the questions that we will be asking you when you come up to the podium. I will begin the first round of questions, and then we'll move on from that point forward. Each individual will be selected based on being drawn randomly. So if you're the lucky person to go first, we welcome you. Angie, would you like to draw the first candidate's name?
Nate Vance.
With our live stream at home, we got to have you in front of a microphone so our viewing audience can hear your response.
Thank you for being here tonight, Nate. I would like you to first introduce yourself to the board and to the audience and those listening at home.
Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't finish the essay here, but we'll work on it. So my name is Nate Vance. I actually moved here to the DeKalb area my sophomore year of high school. I graduated. I was in marching band. I moved away for a little bit, got a little lost in life until kind of God showed up in my life and set me straight. And then coincidentally around that same time, God put in me a passion to want to serve others. And coincidentally at the same time, I was offered a position here at DeKalb, and where I served for 11 and a half years. So while here at DeKalb, I worked in the technology, started off in the technology department, spent several years there, and then moved on to the maintenance department, where I worked there for a few years under the Pepples and Mike Benbow. And then I moved back to technology as the IT director. After my time here at DeKalb, I went on to Albany Central Services and became a network engineer there, continuing to serve the community there. When that happened, the very same week that I started there, something happened where there was a huge shift in leadership. And so it was kind of a do I stay or do I go kind of thing. But Honestly, I wanted to stay because I didn't want the community to suffer for what happened there. So I wanted to make sure things kept going.
Okay.
So that's kind of like where my heart's at. I like to serve. I like to hold my own. I like to be present and attentive, and I ask questions. Do you want me to go ahead and answer the 1st?
I'll go ahead and ask the question, and then
Okay.
you can answer it, okay?
Sorry.
Okay, number one, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
So I think a little bit differently than other people. Being in the tech field, I think anybody in the tech field kind of does. So I have experience in the district. I am understanding of processes. I'm familiar with a lot of the staff that are in this area, and having been here in DeKalb County for a long time, I also understand a lot of the community members, and I like to listen to what they have to say. As far as interests about serving, I just want to continue to serve, to be honest. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for DeKalb to grow. How do I say this? I think there's so much potential that DeKalb has, because I'm familiar with the teachers and the staff, and having worked here, I've seen the passion of a lot of teachers here. And not just teachers, but support staff as well. I think there's a lot of potential to elevate DeKalb to become something much more amazing than it already is. So that's kind of that's my interest and my passion, my drive as to why I want to serve.
Thank you. The second question is, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I would first ask a lot. It ultimately depends on what the issue is. I mean, there could be lots of issues. First, I would like to ask them as many questions as possible to find out as much information. I would ask them who they have talked to or who they've addressed this with prior to talking to a board member. I would discuss it with my peer board members. I'm assuming there's already an established process for dealing with things like this, but generally, I think in the bylaws, it's stated that you're supposed to, if there's an issue with something with a staff member, they're supposed to go to their superior and then escalate as necessary. But honestly, I would just ask lots of questions and try to find out what really happened. I would try to get both sides of the story and try to understand things as objectively as possible.
Thank you. Question number 3, what factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
This might rub some people the wrong way, but for me personally, it's God. It guides my moral compass, to be honest, mostly. And then it's the law. Like, we have to be transparent and following the legal processes. I believe we should be completely transparent, and I think the school has made tremendous progress towards doing that. I think there's still room to grow. Whose voice should be prioritized in school governance? Again, for me personally, this is just a me thing, is God. So.
Thank you, Nate.
Yep.
Angie, you can draw the next applicant.
Brian Graves.
All right, welcome, Brian. Thanks for being here. If you want to take a minute to introduce yourself to us and give us a little background information.
Yep, Brian Graves. I've lived in Auburn since '97. I have 2 older kids that graduated from DeKalb. My youngest is in 8th grade in middle school, going to 9th. And I've owned a cabinet shop for 28 years. I've employed high school kids for pretty much my whole career. Up until recent years, that's fallen off a lot, and I think that's a shortfall. And I've done JA, did quite a few years of doing JA. I've worked with the band kids when my daughter went through band and with props and stuff. Yeah, that's about
Okay, well, thank you. All right, question number 1. What interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
Well, I feel like I've had a lot of experience with working with kids and seeing what's needed and what's not needed. And of course, trades is my thing. And so I think that's where my strong part would be, is more involvement there.
Okay. Number 2, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I would figure out exactly what's going on, what's being said, and come up with a list of questions. And then I imagine protocol, you guys have a certain list of protocol, probably going to the president initially and discussing it, and then finding the next steps to deal with the situation.
And the final question, what factors will guide your decision as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
The parents and the kids, paying attention to what's going on there. And then, of course, the taxpayers and the funding that goes along with any decisions that get made have to be put first and forward.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Angie, next.
Dana Ice.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go through the questions.
Okay, I am Dana Ice. I live in the Greenbrier Edition, close to J.R. Watson, where my 2 youngest children go to school. I have lived in Auburn for 11 years, and my children have attended DeKalb Central Schools from elementary through high school. I'm genuinely grateful for the investment the school system has made in my family, and it's clear to me that our educators and families care deeply about student success.
Okay. Question number 1, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
So serving on the board is, to me, a tangible way to improve the community's future. Being able to influence how education adapts to changing academic, workforce, and community demands. And I find it's a meaningful form of public service. Professionally, I work in a leadership role where I'm responsible for oversight, accountability, and making data-informed decisions in complex environments. I bring a collaborative mindset, a respect for expertise, and a focus on long-term outcomes rather than short-term reactions. If
Okay.
selected, my approach would be to listen first, ask good questions, and work constructively with the superintendent, administrators, educators, and fellow board members to serve the best interests of our students and community.
Okay. Question number 2, if a parent approaches you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I was kind of going back to what Nate said, which is, to understand what the processes are within the school system first. And in that situation, I think it would be best to defer the parent to the appropriate school administrator and then report it directly to the school administrator to figure out how to handle it depending on what the issue is.
Question number 3, what factor will guide your decision as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
So I think the most important thing you have to consider is who is impacted and who is going to benefit the most from the decisions. There are many compromises that have to be made, especially when you're dealing with a limited amount of money. And so I think it's important to understand who benefits from the resources and what the ultimate outcomes are going to be. not just short-term, but long-term. So it's also going to determine, or you'd have to determine what the long-term results would be for long-term stability. I think it's important to consider being a good steward of public resources. And then also you need to understand how it's going to shape your educational policy and the direction. Does it support accountability for leadership, and does it ultimately preserve and strengthen the district culture?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself to the board and give a brief description and a background about yourself.
Okay, I'm Karen Norick. I have lived in DeKalb County for a little over 10 years. I have 3 children, one who graduated from DeKalb and he's at IU, and then I have a senior and a sophomore. My husband is in the military, and we are both also optometrists. So that's me.
Thank you. What interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
So shortly after we moved here, my son was diagnosed with dyslexia, and then through more testing, he was found to also be high ability. And so at that time, there was a high ability committee created here, and I was asked to be on it because having a learning disability and being high ability makes him twice exceptional, which I've never heard of before. So I started out on that committee, which just brought a parent's input to special ed and to high ability. And I don't remember, I think that lasted about 2 years that I was on that committee. And then shortly after that, the portrait of a Baron, I don't know, what do you call it?
Graduate.
Yeah. And so I also was a part of that, and I've just been very involved as I can be in the district since then. I started attending school board meetings probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, and I attend as often as I can. As a professional, I work hard to listen to all sides of every argument, and ask questions and try to remain calm and work together and collaborate and do all the portrait of a Baron things that we want the kids to do too.
Okay. If a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I think first and foremost, I would probably explain to the parent that the board is there for the overall vision of the district and not really involved in day-to-day operations. As a parent of 3 kids in the district, I have had a couple of issues with staff members myself. And the steps to be followed are to try to talk to that person first, or have the child if they're old enough. And then the next step would be to go to that school administrator, the principal or assistant principal, and then it can go up the line. I haven't had to go up the line from there, but go up the line from there. But as a board member, I don't think we should really be involved in that.
What factors will guide your decision as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
I think most importantly, it's the kids. It's the students and the kids, what we're doing for them and what that projects into the community. So if we keep the kids in our minds first, I think then that should follow, that we should respect the people who are educating them. And then to follow that, we should work with the administration to make sure we can keep the qualified
best educators that we can bring, that we can attract to DeKalb and keep in DeKalb, so that our kids can thrive here, go off into the world, but then hopefully come back.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Echo. Thanks for being here. If you would like to introduce yourself and give us a brief background.
Alrighty, my name is Echo Catterall. I graduated from DeKalb quite a while ago, but I'm currently the HR manager for the Family Dollar Distribution Center in Ashley. I've been a DeKalb resident at least 40 years, we'll go with that. So born and raised in the county and the district. I've also raised 3 kids through DeKalb Central. I'm very proud of those 3. All 3 are currently in college. So it's been really awesome to see them grow. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Thank you. The first question is, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
All right. So I think the number one thing that interests me is I am so excited the direction that DeKalb Central is headed. Raising the 3 kids through DeKalb Central, we've seen some of the rough patches. We've been through some funness with DeKalb Central, but at the end of the day, we're all Barons in my household. Very passionate about DeKalb Central. My kids, I've taught them to thrive and persevere through that adversity, and I just really want to see DeKalb Central continue to grow, and I'm just really excited about that. So I would say having my HR experience, I've been in HR now for 13 years. I would say I bring a lot to the table when it comes to seeking to understand, hearing multiple sides of the story, leading through change. That's something that I do a lot of in my role now at work. I'm also involved in like a lot of investigations, and there's a lot of confidential information that I have a lot of training on how to handle that. When people approach me, different tactics and things along those lines. I think HR gives a really good foundation. As I'm sure as a board member, people approach you all the time, or they're always in your ear, and you really have to build those walls and separate yourself to be able to have those friendships, but then also you have a role and a responsibility as a DeKalb Central School Board member.
Thank you. Second question is, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
So a lot of that translates also into what I do now. I would first ask them what steps and what processes they've already followed and who they've went to. So again, I also think that the school board members, it's not really our role to be in those little detail things. I know if it were to lead into a larger investigation and a bigger issue, depending on the severity of it, then that's when we would be pulled in. But I would definitely ask them what steps they've already taken, who they've spoken to, did they talk to the administrators? As a parent, I know that I've never had to go beyond that. Any experience I've had with administrators, like once it gets to that point, if it has to get to that point, they're always very open to have meetings and talk things through and work things out through the kids. So that really, I don't feel that should come to our plates, but then also just reminding the parent, like, hey, there's a process. And I am very proud of the school district, and I know that the administrators would handle things appropriately.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Question 3, what factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
Ultimately, it's the kids. The future Barons that we have coming up, getting the enrollment up, thinking of those different things, how to attract people into the community. So the kids are always number one. They always should be number one. And then also thinking about how to attract talent, more teachers, and that into the district to help us along that pathway, whether it be teachers, coaches, choir, band instructors, just trying to elevate DeKalb Central to want to be the place to go to and send your kids to. So yeah, I think that's all. So
Thank you.
awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Echo.
Hello, I might be a little prepared, wasn't too sure, so I just printed a resume real quick, Drew, just if you don't know me.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I left that on my All right, hi, sorry about that, but for those of you know me and don't know me, my name is Kevin Ho. A little bit about me is I grew up here, graduate of class of 2006. I went off to Purdue University and I came back, and whenever I decided to come back to the community was when my wife and I found out we were having a kid, and I was like, you know what, I had a great experience here, so I wanted to raise my family here one day. DeKalb is very important to me. It shaped me to who I am today. Like I said, I moved home. I own a small business here. My family owns another business here. And I just want to do my part to make the community and the school the best it can be. And so my kids one day have an experience like I had. So yeah.
Excellent. Forgot it was my turn, sorry. Okay, question number 1. What interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
Like I briefly stated, it's important to me to serve the board is because I want to be a part of this community. Like I said, I want to be a part of the school. And more importantly, I don't have kids in the school yet, so I want to leave a foundation for them. I want them to be able to come into this school and, like I said, feel what I have or what I had, and I'm proud to be here. I know there's people who leave and they don't come back, and then some people do come back or never leave, and I kind of did both. I left, I came back because I love it here. And like I said, I don't have, kids in school now, so everything I base my decisions off of will be like, is this going to be better for what they're getting into? And I think that's what makes me most qualified. It's not my job titles or my position. It's the love I have for my kids and what I want to give to them.
Okay. Question 2, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I thought about this question a little bit. This kind of stuck with me, but I think the first thing I would do is just listen. It's not our job to go out there and talk about the little nuances going on within the board. It's my job as a public servant would be to listen to them and then bring back, what they had, their grievances were to the board. I do believe in having a united front with all board members, so, I wouldn't go directly into agreeing or disagreeing with them because I wouldn't want anyone in the public to think that we aren't united because we're doing everything that we're supposed to do for the kids, the staff, the teachers, everyone in the school.
Thank you. What factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
I think that the number one priority or the number one voice we should be listening to are our kids and the parents of those kids, because they need a reason to want to bring kids here. So the best way to get kids here is to just have a good community. It starts with the top down. It starts with us in the community, members of the board. So I would listen very carefully to what the community has to say, taking into consideration everything they want, because if I were to get a seat on the board, the number one role in this is to know that we're public servants. So it's not our own agendas, it's the community. So I would do, a lot of, door-to-door sales just to kind of listen to the community. And I think they have the most important voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the questions.
Sure. My name's Rodney Immel. I'm a transplant to DeKalb County, I'll be honest with you.
I graduated from New Haven High School and East Allen County Schools. My wife graduated from DeKalb, so she's from this area. Her family farms up in Ashley. We started out in Fort Wayne, moved to DeKalb. I'm impressed with it so far. So we've been here about 7 years now. I've got 2 young kids that are at McKinney Harrison, one that will be there probably next year. She's right on the age bracket there for kindergarten, so we'll see. But yeah, we have made Auburn our home, and we love it here. I mean, I don't want to say we escaped Fort Wayne, but we wanted to find a place that was partially between Fort Wayne, where my family's at, and Ashley, where her family is. So we've settled on Auburn, and yeah, so that's my background.
Great.
Okay, so question number 1, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
Sure. It's a little bit self-serving because I have kids that are going to the school system here. And I just, as an example, I was thinking it was a couple months ago, there was some students that were here from the biomedical classes and some of the electrical engineering, or well, I'm electrical engineering, but it was an engineering program. And I was shocked. We dissected worms and built mousetrap cars when I was in school. These kids were dissecting hearts and building robots. And I kind of look at it almost like at a collegiate level. What do we want to do to bring more families, to attract people to DeKalb, to go to school here, to know that we have quality education, retain and attract good teachers, you know, and just make it the most attractive we can. You know, it's something that's important to me to make sure my kids have a great education, everyone's kids have a great education, and that we're using taxpayer money wisely, and that whatever we're doing is benefiting the students, that we're not being careless with taxpayer dollars. So that's something I'm really interested in. I don't think this should be a political thing, but I do pay attention a lot to politics. I think probably everyone does. So I know, like I said, taxpayer dollars is very important, and I want it to be spent wisely. But I just love that what we see with students in the classroom, what the teachers are teaching, is so much further advanced when I was in high school. And I mean, even some of the stuff that they were talking about in that biomedical classes and the engineering classes is stuff I was learning in college, my engineering classes. So I just think that's amazing, and I want to make sure that that continues going forward.
Okay, question number 2. If a parent approaches you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I think that's a tough question. It's probably the toughest one of them all. I think, first of all, is listen. You know, there's a lot of people that probably are just looking for someone to listen, to hear their concerns, to know that there's someone out there that's going to hear. You know, if we're a board member, we're a public figure. We answer to them. So at least the first thing you do is just listen, find out what their issues are. If maybe that's all they want is just a listening session. If there's something that does warrant immediate attention, hopefully it's nothing legal that is going to require law enforcement. But other than that, you know, you need to direct them to the right channels. There's chains of command. I think someone earlier said ask a lot of questions, see who they've already reported it to. There's also concerns of privacy. You know, if a parent's making an allegation towards a teacher, you can't just bring it into a public forum, public setting without an investigation or knowing what's really going on. So I think as a duty, it should be brought to the board, like behind closed doors. I mean, as a board member, if a parent or a member of the community brings an issue to you, you do have a duty to report that, hey, this might be going on, this is something I heard, but behind closed doors, because like I said, there's privacy there, and you don't know. There's 2 sides to every story, you know, so you want to make sure that you're getting all the information and sending it through the right channels, making sure you're not just unilaterally making decisions and doing things and telling someone, yeah, you're right, you're wrong, so on and so forth. So.
Okay, question number 3. What factors will guide your decision as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
Well, the biggest thing is students and kids. I wouldn't say that's going to be all of it. Otherwise, if it was up to my kids, I'd be eating ice cream for lunch every day. So taxpayers is a big part of it, because not all taxpayers have students. You know, not all taxpayers are going to sporting events and they're not involved with the school. So that's a big thing, because everyone's putting in, it's
It's funded by the taxpayers, but students is the main priority. Like I said, I want to make sure that everything that we do is to a benefit to the students and that it's financially responsible. You know, there's got to be a cost benefit analysis there. So this is how much we're spending on this addition. This is what we're doing. How is this going to benefit the students? How is this going to benefit the future? You know, what is this going to do down the road, you know, and things like that. And also, I told my wife I was going to bring this up. One of the last board meetings was some discussion about the special needs co-op. And that kind of hits close to home because my wife, without going into too much details, has worked ever since I've met her with medically fragile children. And like she's always said, you know, how much that affects the family as far as just routine. You know, if you've got medically fragile kids or special needs that are going to classes, that are going to programs, a lot of times these parents are working multiple jobs or multiple shifts, or they have multiple kids in the home besides just that special needs child. So if anything changes in that routine, it can really affect their lives. So that's something I'm gonna be watching for sure, whether I'm on the board or not. So that's one of those things with families and taxpayers and students. You really gotta weigh, how is this gonna affect students? How is this gonna affect taxpayers? How is this gonna affect parents? It's just a huge ripple effect on the decisions you make. So it's all gonna be weighed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Austin Macy.
Good evening, Austin. Introduce yourself to the board and give us a little background of who you are.
Hi, Mr. O'Neill. My name is Austin Macy. Grew up here, and for my whole life, all the way back in, the first time I identified as a Baron was probably 2001, watching DeKalb unfortunately lose to Pike at the state championship basketball game, where we lost Adam Waddell for a couple minutes of the game. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Grew up here my whole life, always planned to come back. Got a double major with secondary education and school psychology. School psych was the master's and psychology was the undergrad. And always felt like I was going to teach, and then kept wanting to go more and get into policy work. So that's why I went into school psychology, went that route, and realized what school psychs do and how they impact the district, and then fell in love with some of the more educational policy at the state level and local level. I worked for the education chair at the state level and really trying to understand policies and how they impact the community. Other than that, currently I work for a nonprofit here in town where I help connect and prepare juniors and seniors typically in high school for their next steps post-high school, whether that be workforce, military, or university. So I love working with our students and interact with them quite often.
Question 1, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel that you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
Well, what interests me about it is the ability to affect students' life in a different aspect. I have always been drawn to working at the policy level for what goes on in DeKalb. I think I have a data analytical background and an ability to build bridges with the community and workforce as I do that for my job, and I think that's a big piece of what's going to go on going forward as some of our graduation requirements have changed, and helping the school districts build bridges with employers in the workforce so that we can help these students best prepare for their next steps. That's what I do every day. And I know that's going to be a big piece of helping our guidance office and our whole staff here at DeKalb. And I think I can absolutely help with that. And I have an ability to communicate, make a story out of data, which is a big piece that sometimes the community could use help with that both ways, understanding what this data means and why this is important going forward, no matter what the project is.
Question 2, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I've heard a lot of pretty similar answers to this one, and this one's pretty straightforward. You always, anytime you're in a position that you're representing people, which this position would be, you hear them out, be respectful, and try to follow the proper channels. There's rules and steps that taken forward, and most of the time, you trust that the parents want the best thing for their student in the same way that you try to trust that the administration and the staff that are involved probably want the same too. Hearing them out and connecting them towards the right direction is probably the best route.
Question 3, what factors will guide your decisions as a board member and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
I thought this was a really interesting question. The idea of priority is interesting. Obviously, anything with schools, it's students or doesn't really make sense. But outside of the students piece, being able to be a bridge builder with the community is another huge piece that I think the community knows that the better we prepare and the better student we bring out into the community benefits everybody in the community. The employers, everyone else is benefited by the student. Any dollar amount from taxes and other stuff, if it seems like everyone is working towards the same goals, and I believe most of the time we are, just trying to communicate that and to show everyone why this is a win and how this is going to make stuff better for them in the future. I know for me, my big motivation coming into this, we're getting ready to expect our first, and I got 5 and 6 years to prepare to help them be the best parent they can be and help prepare what these next few years look like. I think it makes, I think the community piece along with the focus on students is really where the answer lies there.
Thank you. I appreciate the Mr. O'Neill, too.
Thanks, Austin.
Welcome, Shane.
Thank you.
If you'd like to give us a brief description of yourself and what brings you here.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank everybody in this room, all the candidates, this tremendous turnout. Kudos to all of you for taking an initiative to put your name in the hat. It's awesome. My name is Shane Turner. I've been a lifelong Auburn, DeKalb County resident. I'm a 1999 DeKalb alumnus. I've worked in the community. I am now a local business owner. I care deeply about this community and the students that move through this school every day. Karen kind of stole some of my thunder here about the Portrait of Baron because I kind of use that every day in how I work with working with people and just the values that it brings forth is one of the biggest things that I try and live in my own life. That's really about it. I've been a local business owner now for about a year and have 2 children in the school system, middle school and elementary. I just want to be here to kind of put forth best effort for them moving forward.
Thank you. Your first question is, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
I think the biggest thing for me, and trying not to sound redundant like everyone kind of said, giving back is kind of the biggest thing to the school district, the community. I've had great success coming through the school system here. I've made a lot of friends, still communicate with them every day, and it was a great experience for me, and would love to continue to have every student move through the school system have the same success. I believe that my background in business, I also have a background in technology. I was an IT manager for 23 years, and now business owner. So I think, handling all the balance sheets and hiring and firing and all that good stuff, it would be a great fit.
The second question is, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
again, trying not to be redundant, listening is the top key. You got to listen to all the community members, because this is a public-facing position, and explain to them there are policies and procedures that must be followed. And if they have done that, then sure, I can take it to the board and we can discuss it if procedures have been followed. But to that point, and I don't know the circumstances, it's not for us as a board member to manage the day-to-day of the school district. That is up to the administrative staff.
Question 3, what factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
The number one voice is student success, period. We have to have our children moving through the system have the best opportunities and facilities available. Yes, we have to balance budgets and not have it be a detriment to the community taxpayers, because that is a big issue with, I know, a lot of folks. But in the basic thing, I want to contribute, I want to learn, I want to help support the district and prepare students for success.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Go ahead and take a minute to introduce yourself to us.
Yes, I have been a lifelong member of DeKalb County. I was born and raised here. My family has been community business owners. My grandfather was a family physician here in town throughout his life. I graduated in 2002, had the opportunity to go to Indiana University on an athletic scholarship, and met my husband there, who also played football, so go Hoosiers. And we took some time and moved to Columbus, Ohio, lived there for a few years post-college. And then when we were ready to start a family, you know, we decided to move back to the community that I was born and raised in. And so, you know, it's been a tremendous honor to be able to stand in front of you guys and have the opportunity to serve on this board. And I'm really thankful to be here.
Thank you. All right, number 1, what interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual to be appointed?
I'm here for advocacy for all students, all teachers, and our community members. You know, we really need to focus on not only the outcomes of our students, but also ensuring that our teachers are supported and that our community members are being heard. And my mission is to ensure that, you know, we're creating collaboration amongst all parties. You know, our student is our greatest investment to our community, and I'm driven to, you know, really ensure that all needs are met, all voices are heard, and that we're moving everyone forward in the best possible direction, while maintaining, you know, being as fiduciary as we can in our decisions in what we're doing for the district.
Number 2, if a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
I think as board members, we are definitely the bridge between our community and the school system. So it's very important for us to be very diplomatic and ultimately listen to those voices and let that individual be heard. But, you know, the reality is we need to direct them to, you know, the principal, the teacher, the superintendent at hand. You know, it's their job to facilitate and take care of the day-to-day interactions. But, you know, we want to make sure that those voices are being heard and that we can direct them in the best manner possible.
Okay. What factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in school governance?
Ultimately, our student outcomes are going to be the most important thing to consider. We have to be very thoughtful in our consideration. You know, we need to strive, you know, for academic excellence for our students. You know, we need to make sure we're creating a culture and getting the communication out to our students, out to our families, and out to the community members of the great things that DeKalb has going. As multiple people have said, this district has made tremendous strides moving forward. I'm here to help facilitate and ensure and driven that we can continue to move the district in a positive direction, having families, move into the district, maintaining really strong teachers that can help advance these students post their time here at DeKalb.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last one. Lori Geiger.
Hi, Lori.
Hello.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Lori Geiger. My family, we are transplants to DeKalb County. I work part-time, semi-retired. I work for the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum as volunteer coordinator. I attract, train, recruit, manage a roster of 70 volunteers. And we are, our family's heavily involved in the classic car community, which led us to invest in this community and make it our home.
Okay. What interests you about serving on the board, and why do you feel you are the most qualified individual?
The opportunity to serve on the DeKalb County Central United School Board would be deeply meaningful because it offers me a chance to give back and serve this community and get to share the experiences I had in the roles. I served 27 and a half years in public school in several different roles in Warsaw Community Schools and Tippecanoe Valley School Corporation. Warsaw's about double the size of DeKalb and Valley's smaller. I've had amazing opportunities with these roles. Some of my experiences, I was executive assistant to the superintendent and to the school board at Warsaw. It involved high degree of confidentiality, organization, scheduling, public media, crisis communications. I trained the new school board members. I taught them their roles and responsibilities, board ethics, communication, Indiana open door law. I enjoyed that. I attended many ISBA conferences and trainings to help support my board in those roles. I was a researcher, collaborator on the WCS Lilly Endowment Grant. It was a $700,000 grant, so fiscal stewardship of grants is a priority. I was a member of different committees, accountability, calendar, staff development, system leaders, Neola board policy revisions, facilities. We had several big district initiatives, redistricting, a referendum, so I collaborated and managed, organized town hall meetings to bring the community, the parents, administrators, and the school district together to a successful end. I would love to bring those opportunities to DeKalb County. We're invested here. We love the community, and I would be happy to serve in that role.
If a parent approached you about an issue with a staff member, how would you handle this as a board member?
Sure. Already knowing the roles and responsibilities of the school board, I'd graciously refer that parent back to the principal or supervisor, back to the principal or supervisor of that staff member, to the staff member first. And then it's very important to know the chain of command and the communication chain of command. The board serves as a leadership governance role, not in a management role, but we would support our parents as best as we could for a resolution.
What factors will guide your decisions as a board member, and whose voice should be prioritized in governance?
Sure, I think it's collaborative. Student success. I love making every decision running it through the vision, the mission. I love the portrait of a Baron. Every decision in the school district should really run through those filters. That's your final goal and your I think it's easy to get confused with the minutia of little details, but when you boil it down to making decisions with the students' community in mind, you'll make strong schools and strong communities.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe that was our last applicant. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight. I know this is not easy to come up and speak in front of everybody and be put on the spot to answer questions. I was there at one point in 2019, so I understand everything and the stress that you go through. So I thank you all for being here tonight and for your investment in the future of DeKalb. At this time, we will move to our miscellaneous portion. So I will open this up to our board members if they have anything this evening.
School started, so if you're not aware and you don't have kids or grandkids, they're back. So your parents are relieved again, kids are out of your hair, so it's a good thing. So let's keep second semester going like we did the first semester.
Good.
I just want to thank everybody that took the time to come out and, like Valerie said, this is not easy. It's not easy for us either. But I could feel every single person's passion and energy. And I really hope no matter what happens tonight or Thursday or whatever, you continue to be involved. That's the biggest thing. Whatever and however you choose to do that. But there are a million ways to be involved at DeKalb. And if it isn't on the board, I hope that you find a way to be involved in a school or on a committee or somewhere, because we would love to have all of you somewhere in our buildings. So thank you, and please find a way to keep that passion involved at DeKalb.
I'd like to echo on that. I would talk to people and say, how's the board going? I said, well, we're looking to fill a void. And they said, well, how many people applied? And I said, well, we're going to interview 13 on Monday. And they said, 13? I said, well, I think that's a good problem, that we have a diverse group of people that we can listen to. We read all the applications, and that took quite a while. And so I'm impressed with our community, that we've got this many people that want to kick in and see what's going on and keep things rolling at DeKalb. So thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with both what we both said. I mean, this won't be an easy task for any of us, but we do encourage you all to stay involved if you aren't selected. But anyways, Steve, do you have anything else?
Again, just echoing what's been said, but got to meet some new people in the community, and it's nice to meet some new faces. And to revisit some old relationships from years gone by. Can't believe Shane didn't reference my coaching 8th grade basketball as one of the reasons why he was so successful in life, but we probably needed to skip over that anyway, so.
It was 7th grade world history.
Oh, there it is. There it
was
is.
it.
All right.
Life-changing.
No, but I just appreciate everyone taking the time. This is not an easy thing to do, to put yourself out there. It's a testament to this community to have so many great individuals step forward from so many different backgrounds, from different time frames within our community. It's just great to see you here tonight, because this doesn't happen everywhere. There are a lot of school boards that are looking to fill a position, and they're out begging some one person to step forward to take it on. So this is truly impressive. So great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I will now open it up to the audience. If you have anything that you'd like to share, you can come up to the podium. All right. Well, I guess we will turn to adjourn our meeting. I'd like to read into our minutes that our next special board meeting will be January 8th here at Central Office, and that will be at 6:00 p.m. instead of 5:00 p.m. And our next organization regular board meeting will be January 13th. That will be here at the Central Office at 6:00 p.m. Tonight, we will be holding an executive session immediately following this meeting, and that will be to consider applications and the appointment of public official. We will be planning to narrow down our candidates to no less than 3. All right. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.